letter requesting written answers to concerns about those changes. I ask unanimous consent to submit this for the record.
Without
and
objection.
then thank you, and then ask for your written responses to those. Mr. Secretary, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is in my district, and it is home to the 711th Human Performance Wing. It is also home to the Naval Medical Research Unit, Dayton. It is the site where those two come together as a joint center of excellence for aerospace medical research that was established in 2005. It's a place where the Air Force and the Navy are supposed to come together, conducting aerospace medicine research for the purposes of advancing human performance in aerospace. Unfortunately, the Naval Medical Research Unit in Dayton has been neglected. In 2022, a study for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers identified that this medical unit was in desperate need of just basic maintenance, and it continues to struggle for funding in basic infrastructure improvements. As a result of that, I put a request in last year's NDAA for the Navy to respond to how is the Navy going to respond to this report from 2022 that has yet to be answered. That report in the NDAA had a deadline of this year of March 31st, which was missed this year. So the Navy hasn't even responded to the request to respond to the lack of responding to the Army Corps of Engineers response, which was 2022. We're missing the opportunity for the Navy and the Air Force to work together in aerospace medicine research, which again is supposed to advance human performance in aerospace. Mr. Secretary, I'd ask you, are you aware of this missed opportunity, and can we remedy this opportunity so that we can advance, obviously, this incredible opportunity to advance human performance in aerospace?
Congressman, I apologize. I was not aware of this, but this is the problem when we have a lot of these units attached to Air Force bases. I had the problem in Tinker Air Force Base too, where we had a large number of suicides, and that I've gone there personally, and I've made a lot of headway in order to curtail the suicide rates at Tinker Air Force Base. But for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, human performance is so important. We have to treat every sailor and Marine like a weapon systems. We need to take care of them. That's whether it's through human performance or medical treatment or even mental health. We will do that. So you have my word that I will not only look into this, respond quickly, but also come visit you, sir. And in response to the sexual assault and sexual harassment, we are going to investigate every single issue with licensed or trained investigators, and we will respond to that request as well. And again, I have 5 children, 3 daughters. I will not allow this to happen.
I look forward to your response to both. Thank you.
Gentleman from California, Mr. Garamendi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you and Ranking Member Smith, as well as the Secretary, spoke to the issue of the commercial fleet that America does not have. Draw to your attention, there is a piece of legislation called the SHIPS Act that deals directly with that. I bring that to the attention of the committee, and perhaps that could be an integral part of our work as we form up the NDAA. Rather important in meeting all of the requirements that we have. So I'll let it go at that. Thank you for bringing the issue up, and I'll drive it forward. I have 2 questions here. Admiral Cottle, the west coast of the United States, I believe, borders on the Pacific. The Pacific is going to be, has been, and will continue to be a major theater with enormous challenges. Do we have sufficient facilities on the west coast of the United States to meet the needs of the Navy as it looks to its larger fleet and to the challenges of the Pacific?
Congressman, we do not have sufficient facilities in general, and I would argue that we do not have sufficient on the West Coast. As our theater of importance and our priority of how we've split the Navy, our 60-40 split predicates that to prevent transits through the Panama Canal or other ways we would get around to the East Coast, the more options I have as the CNO to prepare ships without those transits to East Coast public yards, the way I can, have to share those yards and keep them level loaded improves quality of life for people if they can stay on the coast and not such large PCS moves, and just improves combat and damage control that I can do when I actually need to repair in that capacity. So we are tasked in this budget to go look hard at a fifth shipyard, and that study is, we will take a lot of time and understand that very clearly where to lay down that capacity. But I would, answer your question bluntly, no, I do not have sufficient capacity.
I look forward to working with you on developing opportunities on the West Coast for the need of the Navy for its ship repair and perhaps also for the development of additional fleet. I want to go to General Smith. You spoke in your opening testimony about the amphibious ready groups and the MEUs. What do you need to carry out your plan? Do you have sufficient ships, amphibs, large and not so large? And what is the plan to develop? What is your plan and what is your need to develop the necessary fleet for the Marine Corps?
Well, sir, thanks for that question. So our requirement is a 3.0 ARG-MU. Again, one off the East Coast, one off the West Coast, and one episodically deployed out of Okinawa, Japan. We're currently required to have a minimum of 31 amphibious warfare ships, but that was predicated on 80% readiness. And we're well short of 80% readiness in the amphib fleet. We're closer to 50%. So we're going to need more ships. I defer to my shipmate, Daryl Caudle, on exactly how many ships are going to be required to maintain that 3.0 ARG-MU presence. But my requirement is a 3.0 ARG-MU presence regardless of the number of ships that are available.
So those would be the large amphibs and the medium?
Yes, sir. LHAs, LHDs, and then LPDs.
Are they presently in the planning that the Navy is putting forth?
Again, I will defer to the Secretary and to the CNO on that, sir.
Let's move to the Secretary.
Yes, well, sir, I just can tell you, we have an LHA and LPD and LSMs in the budget.
So all three of those ships are in the budget of sufficient
Yes,
number to meet the needs of the Marine Corps?
Yes, Congress.
Very good. With that, I will yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Whitman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank our witnesses for joining us today. Secretary Cow, Admiral Caudle, General Smith, thanks so much for the incredible job that you do. Secretary Cow, I want to start with you. Yesterday at the House Subcommittee on Appropriations for Defense, you talked about nuclear power generation, specifically onshore nuclear power generation. We all know our nuclear navy is the best ever in the history of humankind, and how it utilizes nuclear energy to power our ships. That 70 years of record with naval reactors is beyond reproach. What I want to look at is how are we taking that technology and then applying it in different ways. And I got language in last year's National Defense Authorization Act that directed pilot projects on Navy bases to actually do onshore nuclear power generation with small modular reactors, and to do that in a way where we can pair that with data centers. Listen, the future of what we need to make sure we win the race in AI is going to center around data. You want to have your power generation sources close to where your data centers are, the power demand. There's a need for the military for that power generation to have organic capabilities on a base to make sure we're not at peril with the larger grid if somebody tries to take it out, and then making sure we have our own organic capability with the data that we need for that. All those things make sense. They're also in line with what's happening externally with other efforts to generate more power to respond to this nation's increased energy needs, and making sure that we're doing data center development in a very responsible way. And I argue the nation and the Navy and the military benefits from that. Give me your perspective on how you think we can aggressively pursue this to, as quickly as we can, get these SMRs permitted and under construction on Navy bases, how we can look for partners in the data center realm to put those on military bases or on Navy bases, and how you would look at executing that.
Thank you, Congressman. This summer, Norfolk Naval Base is going to be powered from an aircraft carrier. We're going to export the energy from the aircraft carrier to the base. But imagine having this power generation from within the base, that we can even export the energy to the surrounding area and use that as a working capital fund to now actually fix our bases. And the energy that's produced from these, we can power also, or use it for a 4-stage distiller, making water, fresh potable water. I mean, on a carrier, we're pumping millions of gallons over the side every day of fresh potable water that tests at pH 7, right? That we can now export in places like California, where you have a drought. You can actually export that energy, that water, to put in the surrounding area. Now, the president has named the Army, which breaks my heart, as the executive agent for shore-based thing. This is, as a matter of honor, we are the nuclear Navy. So I do want to turn over to Admiral Cottle, who is more in tune of nuclear power than I can ever be.
Congressman, one thing we need is a champion, okay? You're doing that over here, but we've got to have an overall programmatic champion for the SMR program. So I think we're dithering a bit there and not really kind of landing on, the pilot and laying out the program of record.
Yes.
So while the Army may be, tapped to be the overall lead for it, I see no world in which the Navy's not going to be part of that discussion and bring our expertise through our long-established naval reactors, deep understanding of reactor physics and understanding safe operation. But we need to get a pilot established and a target date and get one going.
Yep. Admiral Cottle, thank you. And we will be laser focused on that again this year, the National Defense Authorization Act. I wanted to follow on with that on a shipbuilding issue. There's $1.85 billion in this year's president's budget in the request for advanced shipbuilding industrial base and future ship experimental, essentially looking at the proposal of taking foreign designs and then putting those in place for our shipbuilding. I just have a question about that. I have a hesitation about that because we tried that with FREM, with an Italian design, and we took an Italian design and we said, okay, it's 85% complete, and then made adjustments to it, and all of a sudden it only became 15% complete on design. And today we have 2 Constellation-class ships, and that will be it. We will cancel the rest of the program. So I guess my question is how do you see this going forward, and how are we going to reconcile the effort to say, let's grow the industrial base, let's grow shipbuilding in the United States, and on the other hand, say that we're going to now look at foreign ship designs and how we're going to build and sustain a U.S. shipbuilding industrial base for our U.S. Navy?
Well, there are a lot of lessons we learned from Constellation. This can be done right. I think the Icebreaker program is an example of where, this can be.
Gentleman's time's expired.